Hi, this is Stan Bush.
Hi, this is Stephanie Calvert.
This is John Payne.
This is Jack Hughes.
Hey everyone, this is Britt Lightning from Vixen.
Hey everybody, this is Prescott Niles.
Hi, I'm Carrie Stevens.
Hello, I'm Kofi Baker.
You're listening to Play That Rock and Roll.
This is not a test. This is Play That Rock and Roll. I'm your host, Joe K., and today our guest is Mike Reilly of Pure Prairie League. Pure Prairie League has a new album out, and it's their first in nearly 20 years. It's called, appropriately, Back on Track. If you're not familiar with Pure Prairie League, they are a country rock group that got started all the way back in 1970. They're most well known for their big hits Amy, and Let Me Love You Tonight. And they're also famous for launching the career of country superstar and current member of the Eagles, Vince Gill. Now, Mike joined Pure Prairie League in 1972, and he's been with them ever since. He is retired from regular touring, but he still owns and manages the band, and he also produced this new album. Subscribers of this channel might remember that I saw Pure Prairie League in concert just a couple of months ago, and I thought it was awesome. That's why I wanted to have Mike on the show. See, this band has not only a great catalog, but also a fascinating history, so I'm really happy that we were able to get Mike on the pod to explore some of it. In this interview, we discuss what motivated them to release a new album, the songs they recorded for it, and the surprising backstory to some of those songs. We also talk about PPL's history with Vince Gill, their iconic Sad Luke album artwork, and how a YouTuber from the UK helped to introduce their music to a new generation of fans. And somehow, we even ended up talking about what it would take to get Pure Prairie League to play the Sphere in Las Vegas. The new album is available on CD and digital download, and a vinyl release is on the way. Pure Prairie League will be on tour for most of 2025, so be sure to check their website to see when they are playing near you. And if you do go see them in concert, they typically come out to visit with the fans after the show, so you can always get an autograph or a photo with the band that way. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram, and apparently there's a TikTok account on the way as well, so keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, you can of course find more information about the new album and tour on their website, pureprairieleague.com. And with that, here's my conversation with longtime member and now owner and manager of Pure Prairie League, Mike Reilly.
We'll build a new foundation for this trail that we're blazing. Come together with our pack until we're back on track.
I saw Pure Prairie League earlier this year. I saw them perform in Hartford, Wisconsin, which was a wonderful show. Met the guys in the band afterwards. A lot of fun. And it's just really great to have you on the show, man. So thank you for coming by.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the new album. It's called Back on Track, appropriately. It's going to be released on December 6th, and it's the first Pure Prairie League studio album in like almost 20 years. So Congrats on getting that done. How did this project come to be, and about how long was it in the works?
Well, the original idea was from our new guys, and a couple of them weren't really new. The guitar player Jeff Zona and the bass player Jared Kamek have been with me now for 3 years.
Okay.
And so they're the new guys. And then Randy Harper, our keyboard player, has been with us for about 6 or 7 years. So, but they were talking, maybe we should do let's do an EP. Mm-hmm. Just to let people know that there's new guys in the band, and we're still we're not dead. We're still working and writing and stuff. Yep. And the germ of this, the seed was planted, and finally I went, well, wait a minute, why don't you guys bring in some more songs, and I've got some songs in mind, and let's do an album. What the hell? I mean, if we are getting a little long in the tooth after 54 years, so I thought, well, this may not be our swan song, but at least it could be a very nice continuation of the PPL legacy. So,
Absolutely.
Jeff brought in 5 songs, Jared brought in 3, I brought in 4, and the next thing you know, we've got an album.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about some of these new guys in the band. Yeah, I could see why you wanted to get them on record, because seeing, the group in concert was just spectacular. It's like, Pure Prairie League is an old school group. There's a long history there, but, so in my mind, I had a certain expectation, but seeing particularly Jeff on some of those guitar solos just shredding, I felt like moments I was like, I almost had a Van Halen show for a moment or two. So yeah, let's talk about who are these guys who are new to the group? How did they join, and what did they bring to this record?
Well, it was it's always been a kind of an organic situation where when it's time for somebody to go off on their own or, move along, we always seem to luck into, by serendipity or whatever, just dumb luck. We luck into the kind of guys that are fans of the band and that like the music and they're familiar with it, and they want to be involved. And the last guitar player we had for about 15 years, Donnie Clark, spent a lot of time with us, and then decided that he was going to work on some of his own stuff, which that's been the story for Pure Prairie League all the way along the line, from Craig Fuller to Gary Berg to Vince Gill to all those guys. And so I've always thought of Pure Prairie League as sort of a springboard for people to launch their careers. Not trying to tank our career, but
Right.
we seem to do okay. We find these guys, we give them a big boot in the ass, and then they're on their way. And PPL continues because we've got a legacy. We've got a lot of great songs. We've had a lot of great players, and we've got just tons of great fans, and they want to hear the music. So 54 years later, here we are.
Absolutely. Yeah. One guy who's not new to the band is John David Call on steel guitar. Has been with the band since like the beginning. I know he stepped away for a little bit in the late 70s, but since he's been back, he's the connective tissue along with yourself to like the early days of the band. Talk to me about like what does his presence in the lineup still mean to the band and to the fans, and what did he bring to this new record?
Well, I think it's mostly continuity and the fact that he's just so damn old and stubborn that he just won't give up. I decided to retire from touring a couple of years ago, due to various reasons, personal and health and things like that. But, John said, hey, man, I'm not done yet. So, he provides the last man standing, part of the continuity. And John's part of our sound. I mean, we've changed guitar players and keyboards and all different kind of musicians, but John Call is John Call. He's an innovator. He's an original. He's a force.
Yeah.
And he's still out there kicking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the steel guitar were some of my favorite moments of the show when he had his solos. So yeah, it was really cool to meet with him after the show for a moment, get a picture. Just gotta say, your group is one of the friendliest group of musicians I've ever met. Everybody was so kind after the show, so it was a real treat to talk to them. But for my next question, I wanna talk about your impact on this new album. You said you brought a few songs to the record. How long were these songs in the works? And which ones did you write?
Well, actually, I didn't write any of them this time. When Gary Burr was in the band in '85, he brought a song called Modern Problem, which was pretty strange.
Yeah.
And, the way he did it, and it was, like synth rock type thing. Nobody, Gary's a country Hall of Fame songwriter. He's had covers from from everybody, including Ringo and Carole King and everybody else. But I always loved that song, and so we've been working on that on and off since 1985. And so that's one of the songs I brought in. And then another one of Gary's songs, which I've loved for years, is a ballad called "I Believe I Could Fall in Love with Loving You." And our drummer Scott sang that and just did a monster job. We used an old Neumann 47, an original one. Our engineer has a collection of mics, like the real deals. And Scott's vocal sounded so warm and so wonderful that we did that song, and that's one of Gary's.
Okay.
And then I brought in a song that we used to do on stage when Craig was in the band called "6 Feet of Snow." It was a Little Feat song from down on the farm back in the early 70s. And then another song that I brought in was a song called "Love Song," written by Leslie Duncan. And it was recorded in 71 by Elton John on his Tumbleweed Connection album.
Oh, nice.
And I was living in England at the time. And we had a country blues band, and we were touring with David Bowie. And that when that album came out, I just went, wow, this is great. This is the stuff I love, because it was kind of like country rock,
Yeah.
And this was an obscure song by an obscure writer who was a very popular background vocalist in England, but had incredible stage fright.
Okay.
So she couldn't perform live, but she sang on all these albums. I mean, Alan Parsons, Elton John, the list goes on and on. Her name was Leslie Duncan, and she was just a fabulous singer and a really good songwriter. And I've loved this song since 1971. And that's, I finally think, well, here's the chance to do this song and do it Pure Prairie League style,
Yes.
which, the way Jeff's guitars are unbelievable, and the vocals were exactly what I wanted. And, it just sounds like a song that Pure Prairie League would be playing in somebody's living room with 3 acoustic guitars and all of us sitting around singing.
What really impressed me about this new album is that it sounds very consistent with previous Pure Prairie League records. Like it feels very like continuity, it feels very related to that original tissue. Except that in a good way, Modern Problems does sound like a little bit of a departure, but in a good way. That feels like a progression. Like this is what the Pure Prairie League would have sounded like, if you guys had put out a bunch of albums in the 80s, almost like a yacht rock thing.
Yes, I've got a modern problem, and it all revolves around you.
It's a cool sound. I mean, that's what made my ears perk up when I saw that show. It made me really excited to hear the new record. So excellent picks on those.
Well, I love that song, and and it took this long to get the arrangement exactly the way I wanted it, and it came out exactly the way I've always heard it for 45, 50 years. So it's so I'm thrilled with that song.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, it's interesting because it sounds like this album, you guys have been working on it, really hard for like the last couple of months, but like there's roots on the record that really does go back to the old days.
Oh, absolutely. This is, Pure Prairie League music is Pure Prairie League music. And it's always, we've always tried to push the envelope a bit, through on all the records. I mean, all the records have a couple of curveballs in there because we wanted to showcase the talents of the members that were in the bands at the time. And once again, these guys are all monster players.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so jealous that I'm not out on the road with them. So I have to go out like 5 or 6 times a year and play acoustic guitar and mandolin and sing just so I can hang with the guys.
Yeah.
But they're monster players, great singers, and they're really good guys, which is number one for anybody being in Pure Prairie League. You better have been raised right. We don't take kindly to prima donnas and divas.
Absolutely. No, that's exactly the vibe I got after the show. A lot of people hung out and talked to the guys in the group, and that was just really positive to see. And it was really great meeting them, and they all signed my record, and I appreciated that. So very cool. So were you able to play on the record?
No.
Oh, okay.
I decided, I mean, it's sort of the same thing when I decided not to tour anymore. It's like I'll be 75 in a couple of months, and I mean, you got to know when to say when.
Yeah.
And because of health issues that I had previously, and things, it was time for me to, to hand over that part of the chore. I mean, that's why I still own the band, I still run the band, I manage the band, and I produce this new album. And that's what I wanted my involvement to be, is helping to pick the songs out of all the songs that we had as candidates. This is the 12 that I came up with that I think, best represented the band.
Yeah.
And kept that continuity. We had a great engineer. We had a very comfortable studio to work in for a year, and it just, I mean, this one came out. I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Oh, awesome to hear. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the production work then. I mean, it'd been about almost 20 years since the last Pure Prairie League record. I mean, how did it feel getting back in the studio? Was it like picking up where you last left off, or were there new tricks or new things going on?
Well, I mean, 20 years down the road, there's always something new going on, and these days, everything is digital, so it's easier to pop things in and out. Although we did a lot of analog work on the record as well, but it was, I'm firmly rooted in the 70s and 80s. I mean, I'm old school, and Pure Prairie League is old school, and we felt that was, very important to keep that up. We're not trying to, influence the new influencers these days, and we're not going to get on any rap charts. Well, we could do a country rap album, but then, I mean, if we did a country rock albums and they're called crock.
Oh, okay. Oh, geez.
If we did a country rap album.
Yeah, I can guess. Right. Yep. Oh, that's funny. Well, a couple other songs I want to highlight on the new record that really stood out to me were The Beginning, Skipping Stones, and Back on Track. I'm a rocker, so I like a little, heavier music, and I like that side of Pure Prairie League. Who wrote those songs?
Well, Jeff Zona, the guitar player, wrote the beginning.
Okay.
And Jared helped out on a little bit of the co-write and stuff like that. And when I heard Jeff's demo, I went, "Wow, this is Pure Prairie League."
Yeah.
So there was that. That was and it's kind of perfect for being the first song on the record, and the CD is the beginning. Because it kind of takes us back to the beginning of Pure Prairie League and our style, and our sound, and it was just a natural beginning. The Skipping Stones was the second song that Jared brought in. He brought in Price of Love 2-3 years ago, right when he joined the band. And it was just it was a bit, I'll be honest, a little strange, because it was sort of like Jimmy Buffett meets the Amazing Rhythm Aces meets Pure Prairie League.
Yeah.
But we've been doing it on stage and getting a great response, and it was a lot of fun to record. We had Matt Britton in Nashville playing steel drums.
Oh.
The guy that was on the road with Kenny Chesney doing his beach tours and playing his steel drums and that. So I mean, that was a great fun song to do. But Skipping Stones was also another one that Jared submitted, and I like the R&B feel that he brings to the band. And he's got a kind of an R&B voice, and Skipping Stones was just one of those songs that, it just fit into Pure Prairie League 2024. Yes. And I mean, with the when it breaks down to the piano solo, the electric piano solo in the middle, it's sort of like it goes into a bit of a jazz feel. And, which is, once again, here's Pure Prairie League. This is what we do. And so I think it was a good showcase for that. And then Back on Track, Jared had brought a song in called Heat of something, or, something about the heat. And I really wasn't, knocked out, but the track, the rhythm track that he had written was that funk thing, bam, bam, bam.
And get back on track.
And I said, hey man, what about taking that rhythm track that you've got, writing new lyrics? Let me know what you come up with. A week later, he comes back and he's got this song that's about the new band. And if you listen to the lyrics, it's all about the new guys and the new approach and we're still there, we're back on track, and we're funking it up.
Yes. Well, that title, Back on Track, is literally perfect for an album at this point. I mean, did you consider any other titles for the album, or when he came up with it, was it just like, boom?
Well, I think that was pretty much it. Although we had considered that song of Jeff's called A Picture Perfect Life.
Oh.
And it's the lyric is you've got a postcard of a picture perfect life. And we were thinking about calling the album Postcard.
Oh.
Having Luke, sending a postcard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, that was the only other, concept that we had. But Back on Track was just so strong that we thought, well, hey, here we go.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what are we going to do? So I contacted Bill Brown, the guy that illustrated our last record, All in Good Time. And he came up with this, I gave him the concept and the design and the idea, and he executed it, and he knocked it out of the park.
Oh, absolutely. So
when he sent me that, the workups, I went, holy mackerel. So, this is, once again, it just came together just beautifully.
Very cool. Very cool to hear. So here's kind of a funny question. I know back in the 80s when MTV kind of took over the music scene, Pure Prairie League really didn't do that whole MTV music video thing. Have you mulled over maybe giving it a shot this time around?
Nope. Old school, pal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I get it, but the whole idea of videos to me always seemed to be a distraction from the talent that's on the record and that it plays it live. And so, we're not actresses, we're musicians.
Right.
And so I should say actors, but just trying to be politically correct. But
I hear you. Oh yeah.
But the idea of doing videos, we did a couple of little video things, over the years, and they're sort of, they're around on YouTube and stuff like that. We look at them and I just kind of go, yeah. So we weren't going to do the whole concept of video. We're all about the music. We're not about, our stage show is not flashlights and screens and, the Grateful Dead and shit like that. We're just, we just get up there and play our music and try to relate to the folks that are listening to it, because they're the ones that are paying our salary.
Absolutely.
And we want to show respect and do what we do, and that's enough for me, and it always has been. I mean, maybe on the next life I'll be Ariana Grande or something.
I'll keep an eye out for that.
That's probably something you don't even want to think about.
Right. Well, I mean, just talking about music videos, thinking back to the 80s, I mean, I'm sure you saw a lot of your contemporaries get their arms twisted into making a lot of those MTV videos. And I know a lot of artists have expressed embarrassment about that kind of thing. Looking back, are you kind of happy you missed all that? Or did you ever feel bad for, some of the guys you knew who did have to do videos?
Well, I can't feel bad for anybody that makes their own decisions, but that was a conscious decision on our part to not necessarily participate in that aspect of the business.
Right.
And so, hey, there were some great music videos. I mean, and some of the concepts. I mean, Money for Nothing.
Oh.
Dire Straits. I mean, come on, that's just the only video I'd like to do is to find some AI guy, and I'm putting a shout out here,
Yeah,
an AI guy that could take our cowboy, Sad Luke, and do a video with him in it.
I love that. That's
And
a
then
great
have the
idea.
band backing him up and stuff like that. Now that I would get into.
Okay. Now see, there's ideas. I like it. Okay. Real
Well,
cool.
we're old, but we're not dead.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, okay. Well, I wanna ask you about, speaking of just videos. I wanna ask you about a video that I hope you've seen. That is really how I discovered Pure Prairie League a couple of years ago. There's a YouTube channel called GeoWizard, and this guy named Tom, who is from the UK, did a great video series called How Not to Travel America. And during his adventure, they stopped in a or a thrift store and found a tape of Two Lane Highway.
Pure Prairie League, 2-lane highway, 1975. Kentucky Moonshine, Harvest, Kansas City Southern. Literally the most American thing I've ever seen.
And they have this great moment where they put it on in the car, and they have never heard of Pure Prairie League at that point, and it absolutely blows them away. And it's this great little snapshot of something that every music fan has, where they hear a song or a band for the first time, and within a second are in love with what's going on.
Fucking hell, I wasn't expecting this.
This is good, man.
So I know you've seen the video. What did you think when you saw that?
Our publicist actually turned me on to that video. I wasn't really a big YouTube guy.
Sure.
And our publicist, Mike Farley, said, "Hey, man, you got to see this video on YouTube of these two guys from England that are driving around the United States, and they found one of your records, and they're going ballistic."
Yeah.
And so, and I've been in contact with those guys and with Tom and those guys, since, and so they're going to be on the list to get the new record. But it was one of those things. It's like, this is what we do this for, for somebody to stumble across us and then really dig what's going on, and then all of a sudden become an instant fan. What more could you want as an artist?
Absolutely. And I have seen, as I've watched other Pure Prairie League videos on YouTube, I've gone down into the comments section, and on so many of them, you see people saying, "I'm here from GeoWizard. Anybody else know?" So it really, because he has a channel of over 1 million subscribers. He has a pretty big reach. I'm a fan of his, and I've just noticed, like, that is a really interesting way to introduce your music to, like, a younger generation. So I wonder, like, over the years, what have been other ways that you've heard from specifically younger fans about how they've discovered your music?
Mostly it's been word of mouth from their parents or grandparents. The kids were brought up in the 70s when their folks were in college. Now they have kids, and they're turning their kids on to the music and saying, "This is what we listened to when we were your age," and now and people are showing up with their grandchildren going, "My grandpa played me this music, and I think it's great, and you guys are terrific." And so we continue to add to our fan base. It's pretty grassroots. It's pretty word of mouth. I mean, but now we're in the digital age, and the fact that there's so many other outlets to be able to get your music out there, and we're gonna, I've got Mike Farley and his team on this. I've got our web guy on it. I'm calling in all the troops to do. Okay, let's get into the. We've got a Instagram page. We've got a Facebook page. We just signed up for TikTok.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, I'm like, oh, great, here we go.
Yeah, you're gonna have to start doing dances.
But you know what? This is 2025 coming up here, and we'd like to make sure that everybody that we can reach gets to see what Pure Prairie League's all about, and tie in the last 55 years from 1970 to 2025. of Pure Prairie League's history and music, and a lot of people have seen us on on shows and in concert, and so I think it's a tool that needs to be used, and some people are really good at it. We're not, but we're going to give it a shot.
Since the album that Tom discovered and through him I discovered was this 2-Lane Highway record, I've looked that up, and I've seen there's a lot of like big name guest stars on that with Chet Atkins and Emmylou Harris and Don Felder. Briefly, can you talk a little bit about that era and recording that album? What are your memories of putting 2-Lane Highway together?
Well, that was the first album for the new band, because Craig Fuller left in '73. We hired Larry Goshorn.
Yeah.
We got John Call back in the band.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was me, George, John, Billy Hines, the drummer, and Mike Connor, the keyboard player. And the idea when Craig left in '73 was, well, what are we going to do? It's like, well, we've got a job here. Let's do the work, and let's keep on. And Craig did his own thing, and with Cass Fuller and Little Feat and so on and so forth, and rejoined us in '85, rejoined us in '99, because that's part of his legacy and his history. And we just said let's move forward. So we hit the road in '73, and we started doing about 250 dates a year, mostly in colleges, because we had the biggest college booking agent in the country. So we hit the road doing the colleges, and all of a sudden, RCA, who had dropped us after Craig left the band, they're out here looking for us because we're selling out shows all over the country, and they said, we want to do a new record on you guys. So they re-signed us in '75. We had a whole bunch of songs, and we went in the studio in LA and started cutting, and it was like, well, there's people in LA, like although there were people in Nashville, we went to Nashville and had Chet cut and Emmylou do that vocal and stuff, and Ronnie Blakely and Renee Armand singing on Kansas City Southern, and Felder's an old pal, so we had him play mandolin, and
Nice.
Johnny Gimbel, Merle Haggard's fiddle player,
Okay.
played on Flat Tire Merle, and we just invited people to come out, and people went, yeah, we're in. We like this music, we like this band, and even getting Chet was really a feather in our cap.
Well, yeah.
We had some of the people at RCA in the upper offices, kind of bending his ear. And so when he heard the song Kentucky Moonshine, he says, well, that's right up my alley. He says, I'll be glad to do this.
Very cool.
So it's always been a kind of a thing where we would always invite some friends, and we've had some great players, sit in. David Sanborn did 3 or 4 albums with us. Ernie Watts, the sax player, Pete Chrislieb, who played with Steely Dan for years and, did a million LA sessions. We've had tons of players and singers, Nicolette Larson and Rosemary Butler.
Yeah.
It's just, we like having friends come in and sit in. So, and it makes us look good, and it just adds to the whole feel of the record. So.
Yeah, that's one of the most fascinating things about Pure Prairie League to me, is that not just is there a lot of great alumni that's been through the band, but there's been so many connections to other big name players who've wanted to be a part of that history and part of that catalog, which to me makes Pure Prairie League stories just fascinating. So, another person you mentioned already, I got to ask about, of course, because he's another Eagle now, Vince Gill. I know Vince was on like the last 3 albums of that original run, and some great songs in that era.
Still right here in my heart, where you've been right from the start. Still right here in my heart. Oh,
How did he come to join the band, and what did his presence mean for the band?
Well, in '77, we were playing a show in Oklahoma City, at the Civic Auditorium. That was Vince's hometown. And he was in the opening act, a bluegrass band called Mountain Smoke.
Okay.
And we were all standing out there listening to these guys, and they were just knocking it down. I mean, you know, we're all from Kentucky and Southern Ohio, so we know a little bit about bluegrass, and these guys were smoking it. So we asked Vince if he'd like to come up and sit in. And he says, sure, I know you guys. He said, sure, I'll come up and play. What do you want me to play? Play whatever. So he brings up a fiddle and he brings up his acoustic guitar and played on 2 or 3 songs. And it was like, you know, wow, hand in glove. So I asked him after the gig, I said, hey, man, you want a gig playing rock and roll? He goes, nah, I'm a grasser. And so I said, well, if you ever get the itch, you know, to play some rock and roll, here's my number, and, you know, let me know. So 2 years later, we're in LA. Larry and Timmy had left the band to go solo. And we were doing auditions at SIR in Los Angeles. And the day was almost over, and this guy shows up, a friend of Vince's.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he got into the audition process. You know, I know those guys, blah, blah, blah. So he didn't cut the mustard. He wasn't really what we were looking for. So we were, you know, this is like 8 o'clock and in the evening. And, you know, we said, hey, Vince, you know, if you're not doing anything, you want to, you know, grab a guitar here from SIR and maybe jam a little bit. And he says, I got my guitar in the car.
Oh.
We played for 4 hours.
Wow.
I asked him at midnight, now what do you think? You think you might want to join the band? He said, yep, I'm in. And so that's how we got him in the band.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, what did he bring to those 3 records he was on? Did he do a lot of songwriting, or was he the front man, or what was his role in that later era?
Well, you know, he was the lead guitar player, lead singer,
Okay.
even though we had other singers in the band, you know, but he was just starting out as a songwriter. So the songs that were on, like Can't Hold Back, were some of his earliest things. But I mean, he brought brilliant guitar playing. I mean, he could play anything from Tony Rice to Larry Coryell, you know, or Larry Carlton, and just brilliant. And so, you know, some of the songs like Can't Hold Back, the title track on that record, was almost like jazz rock, you know. And so his songwriting had just started out, but his singing and playing were just, you know, that's a gift from God. I mean, there's no denying the talent from that kid, you know. And so we were on our way again. It was a real shot in the arm. And then, you know, after Can't Hold Back, the RCA didn't quite know what to do with us, especially knowing how to spell the name of the band.
Oh.
So we left RCA, and Bruce Bird at Casablanca heard we were looking for a deal, and he signed us. You know, and that was an interesting experience, you know, being on a disco label with Donna Summer and Kiss. You talk about a Christmas party.
Right.
It'll be in the book.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of seeing the show. Your keyboardist, Randy Harper, did a great job in between every song, basically telling the story, you know, about how it came to be, or a funny anecdote about it. And that bit about RCA, he talked a little bit about it during the show, and man, that was really interesting and really funny. So when you say it'll be in the book, is that a joke, or are you actually working on something?
Oh, I've been working on a book for 50 years. So,
that's so great to hear. Okay, good.
But we'll see if that ever pans out. You know, I mean, it's to me, it's, you know, I was there, so I remember all this stuff. But you know, I mean, I've read a lot of artist biographies and memoirs and stuff like that, and there's a few good ones and a bunch of clunkers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, hey, man, how many road stories can anybody relate?
Right.
But yeah, that was one of those kind of things where, you know, getting back to Vince's contributions, it's just, you know, when we hired Jeff Wilson, who was a friend of Vince's, in Los Angeles for the Firing Up album, Patrick Boland was a guitar player, played steel and sax and guitar, and he and I wrote a few songs on Can't Hold Back. And then Vince brought Jeff to the band, and Jeff was a great songwriter, and he brought in songs like Let Me Love You Tonight, Still Right Here in My Heart, Too Many Heartaches in Paradise, Feel the Fire. Jeff was really a great songwriter, and it fit once again perfect into PPL's style. And Vince, sang the hell out of his songs.
Yeah.
So, that ballad that we did on I think it was it Firing Up or Something in the Night, called Tell Me One More Time.
Yeah.
Jeff wrote, and it was me, Vince, Nicky Hopkins, a 4-piece string section, and David Sanborn.
Oh, wow.
And we did that song in one take.
Oh, wow, that's impressive.
So it was, it was just one of those things where, we had the right players in at the right time. Obviously, we didn't make massive moves toward stardom, but, hey, it is what it is. And, we're proud of that. And we're proud of all these records. And, we're proud of this one, too.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's a lot of bands that have, the record in their history that's obvious, like that's really obvious they were chasing a trend and then it ages terribly. And I have more appreciation for bands who stay loyal and faithful to their core sound. One last thing about Vince, he's over with the Eagles, raking it in at the Sphere in Las Vegas. Have you put in a call to see if you could maybe set something up at the Sphere yourself?
Yeah. I'm a Sphere nut.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Sphere is perfect for the Eagles. Just because they have a full media show and stuff like that. I mean, it's I've seen them several times with Vince and the band in like Madison Square Garden, but it's just like Henley is, he's the consummate taskmaster, and
oh yeah.
But it's down to the second, and I think the Sphere is a perfect venue for them, and I'm thinking maybe I'll go out and catch a show in March.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Just for the heck of it, because the place is interesting, and I think it could be cool. As far as Pure Prairie League goes, that's a little out of our league, if you will.
How cool would it be to have Sad Luke projected on the exterior of the Sphere, though? Wouldn't that be
That would be
visual?
cool. That would be cool. I mean, if we could sell 1 million of these records, maybe I could afford to put a Luke ad on the Sphere, for like 30 seconds.
All right, now we're talking. We got a call to arms, people. Buy these records. We can get Sad Luke on the Sphere. I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sad Luke, real quick, one of my favorite things about Pure Prairie League is the fact that you guys have this mascot. You can tell by my shirt, I love bands that utilize sort of a connective theme through their albums, because I think album artwork's important. Molly Hatchet, Asia, Iron Maiden, and that to me says that the band has like a vision, and an identity. So can you tell me a little bit about how Sad Luke came to be and why you all decided that this was the visual that you're going to hone in on, and he's going to, basically be the visual representation of the band?
Well, when we were in New York City at RCA Studios doing the first record, we had just changed the name of the band to Pure Prairie League from the Omars.
Oh, okay.
And
good call.
So they thought, Tom McGrail, the original drummer, had been watching TV late at night, and he saw this movie on 1939 movie called Dodge City, starring Errol Flynn. Oh. And in that movie was the Pure Prairie League, and it was a bunch of Hatchet Annie, Carrie Nation women in Dodge City marching down the streets with banners that say Pure Prairie League and lips that touch liquor shall not touch ours.
Oh, prohibitionists?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so if you looked at these ladies in the movie, you'd feel sorry for the grass, and you know why these guys drank so heavily. So, but we liked the name, and so we told RCA, this is going to be the name of the band, Pure Prairie League, and it kind of it evokes a Midwestern kind of a thing. We're from the Midwest.
Well, yeah.
And John Call, the steel player, and our A&R gal named Paula Batson were sitting up in one of the offices in the studio, paging through a book of Norman Rockwell Saturday Evening Post covers. And they came upon this cover from August 27th of 1927. And John said, "This is it." So Paula took it to A.C. Lehman, who was the art director, who was also an old friend of Rockwell's, and got permission from Saturday Evening Post and from Rockwell to use the character, as our mascot. And I hate calling him a mascot because he was a brilliant man, but through those years, because of the Rockwell style, if you look at like that Just Fly album you got in back of you, it's got Luke as a bullseye.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But the idea was taking a Rockwell type style and like on Live Taking the Stage and a couple of the other records, we used that Rockwell style for the album cover art as opposed to just completely illustrating it. And so that was the idea. It was the idea of branding before that was ever a popular term. We just got lucky with that one.
Well, sure, but I mean, it's brilliant because it's like you're talking about real Americana history, and that's totally appropriate for the sound that Pure Prairie League does. So that's awesome. I mean, that's a really cool story, that has connections to, like I said, real like Americana, grassroots, that kind of thing. Yeah, Midwest. I dig it. Okay, well, the last question before we get out of here, I know you're retired from the road, but before that, you were a real road warrior. You've done your fair share of gigs. When you look back on your career playing on stage, are there any particular gigs or concert memories or anything that stands out as being, it doesn't have to be the best ever, but like a particularly special memory? Is there a gig that comes to mind when people ask you what your favorite concert memory is?
Well, one of the times we played at Red Rocks in Colorado, I think we were playing with Emmylou and Charlie Daniels Band, and we were the opening act. And we're going through our set, and we had just started Amy, and above the back of the stage, which is sort of like an amphitheater, natural amphitheater.
Yeah.
The full moon was rising. So everybody's looking up and pointing up there, and we're thinking, are they pointing at us? No, they're pointing up in the sky. And it was while we were doing Amy. So then all of a sudden we stopped playing, and the whole crowd starts singing Amy.
Wow.
During the full moon. And
Yeah.
That was a mind blower. It was just an absolute, people showed me videos and stuff like that later on, and it was just an absolute mind blower. So that's one of the favorite memories I have of gigs. But God, I remember the night that Skinner died in that plane crash and we were supposed to do a gig that night. We didn't know what to do. So we played Freebird.
Oh.
As an encore, and people went nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, well, because we were the opening act. If you guys want your money back, you can get a refund. But like 5,000 people stayed in this field house in a college, and and they yelled Freebird, and we did it, just out of respect and to honor fallen comrades.
Absolutely. Wow. That's awesome. Those are great stories. What year was the Red Rocks show?
I think that one was in 76.
Oh, cool. I got to look that up to see if I can find some photos or videos. That sounds absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that was just, a mind blower.
Yeah.
We've done some great gigs and we've had a lot of fun. But it's hard to pick out of 12,000 shows. It's kind of hard to pick out a couple of favorites.
Sure. Well, that's a special one, so I can see that being at the top of anyone's list. Well, speaking of live shows, I've looked at your website, and I know you've already got some dates booked for 2025, including a couple of Wisconsin shows. So I'm hoping to sneak out and come see you again. Hopefully, I can make that happen. Are you expecting to announce more tour dates as the year goes on, or is there going to be a big announcement coming up?
Well, there's going to be, I mean, I don't know about a big announcement, but we've done a few shows with Ozark Mountain Daredevils, and they love the package. So we're going to be doing a whole bunch of shows with them in 2025.
Oh, awesome. Okay, very
As
cool.
well as doing we're doing our own shows, and I think it's going to be a really good year.
Yeah, I do too.
We're doing another cruise in March, which is always fun because it's a great musicians hang, with 25 bands.
Yeah.
But it's I think it's going to be a really good year for Pure Prairie League, and we're really looking forward to it. The band's hitting on all 8 cylinders. I'm going to be out at a lot more shows this year. I made about 6 last year and played on 4 of them. I'll be out there this year with the guys on occasion, but I probably won't be playing. I mean, it's sort of like, okay, the young guys have got the reins. I'm happy to pass the torch. It's like Muhammad Ali at the Olympics. It's like, okay, guys, here's the guitar, take it.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that, and I'm proud of the band, and I love what they do, and they're carrying on the legacy, and it's they're doing it the right way. So nothing could be more positive for me in the future.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. How much of the new album do you think will get in the set list?
Well, I'm leaving for Nashville tomorrow to have a band meeting on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to tell the guys that they've got to learn every song on the record, not just 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Because I want to do I wouldn't mind doing an album release party where we just play the entire album.
That would be awesome.
So I'm working on that. That'll probably be in Nashville, and and then I'd like to be able to have a part of the show which features the songs from the new album. Not every single one, but we did 6 Feet of Snow at the Grand Ole Opry a couple of months ago, and we did I'm the Lucky One on the Huckabee Show and at the Opry, and and we do Price of Love in the set. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get a couple of more of the new songs in there, and just work it in. I mean, we don't want to play just all new music because people are there to hear their favorites as well.
Yep.
But we can pick and choose. The last couple of years we've been putting a lot of the old songs from the first 3 albums in the set. Woman and Angel and Angel Number 9 and things like that. And now I think it's time to play the favorites, but intersperse some of the new music in there, because that's our job is to educate and illustrate what we're doing.
Absolutely, yes, and I think it's going to go over really well because like I said, I reacted really well to the new records. I think fans are going to really like it. So the album is going to be released on December 6th. It's going to be on digital download, CD, and is there going to be a vinyl release of this?
Yes, the vinyl will be out probably by the 3rd week of January because the vinyl process takes longer. Mm-hmm. What we're going to do because there's 12 songs on the CD, that's too many songs to put on vinyl.
Oh.
To get decent fidelity. So we're making it a 10-song LP with a link to download the entire album on, that way everybody can hear all 12 songs. And, a lot of people don't have record players, but it's going to be a collector's piece. And we're going to have it at the shows and, but we wanted to do vinyl. And once again, the cover art lends itself perfectly, to an LP, and the inside sleeve, the record jacket sleeve is all printed with all the lyrics, all the information, all the credits, producers' notes, a lot of info because, the great thing about LPs was that you used to read the liner notes in the, so we're once again, old school. We're going back to that format and looking forward to seeing the reaction.
That is old school, but that's also called doing it right, doing it the right way, getting it how it should be. So that is so awesome to hear. I can't wait to get one of those vinyls. And then if fans come out to see you guys play, You guys are always, you hang out after the show and we'll sign stuff. Very fan friendly. I think that's such a great aspect of the band. Mike, I got to tell you, I've been I'm relatively new to Pure Prairie League, but I have dived into your catalog and loved so much of it. So, and the new record knocked me out. It's been such a joy talking to you today. So thanks not just for today, but for really the whole catalog of music, man. It's awesome.
Well, I appreciate it, and the band appreciates it, and it's fans like you and people like you that are going to keep us out there working our butts off, until we drop. So,
absolutely. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming by, man. I really hope that for the Wisconsin dates, if you show up, I would love to come out and say hello and shake your hand and just thank you in person for doing this.
Watch out what you wish for.
All right, Mike. Hey, man, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate this.
Likewise. Thanks, Joe.
Hey, thanks for listening. There's no shortage of great content out there, so you choosing to spend some time listening to this show means quite a lot. If you're so inclined, please give this podcast a 5-star rating and a positive review wherever you get your podcasts. And share our links wherever you can. Or mention this show to anyone you know looking for a podcast recommendation. All of this helps us out a great deal, and I appreciate it. You can connect with us on social media too. We are at Play That Podcast on Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, and even TikTok. Or we are at Play That Rock and Roll on YouTube and Instagram. Please post a comment and say hello. Finally, Play That Rock and Roll is a proud member of the Pantheon podcast community. So if you're looking for more music podcasts beyond this one, trust me, start with Pantheon. You won't be disappointed. Otherwise, I appreciate any and all efforts you take to support us here at Play That Rock and Roll. Be sure to join us next time for more great music and stories from the world of classic rock.